Okay, guys, I want to take a look at how these rhythm phrases interact with our phrases in the composition window. So what I've got here is a three-note phrase uh, consisting of three quarter notes. Uh, I purposefully left out the second quarter note, but anyway, as you can see, we're in 4/4 time. Here's our first measure, and we've got a quarter note on the first beat. The second beat is blank. We've got a quarter note on the third beat and a quarter note on the fourth beat. So the first thing I'm going to do is drag in the eighth notes. And by the way, if you right click on these phrases, you can see a graphic representation of the rhythm. So what you're seeing here are just eighth notes all in a row. Okay, so let's all you have to do is just grab the phrase and then drop it on top of the phrase in the composition window, and you'll see these kind of diagonal grid lines over the blank part. So you drop it there, and this dialog box will pop up. And we're first going to just play around with apply rhythm. Okay, so I'll click that, and notice that what it did, it took, remember we had three quarter notes, so it took, and we dropped this eighth note, these eighth notes phrase onto it, and it turned each quarter note into eighth notes. But notice that where on the second beat, where there was no note, it didn't do anything. So the rhythm mapper will not insert notes if no notes are in the phrase, and that's a simple takeaway on that. So let's undo that, and let's take a look at the behavior of this of the rhythm phrases when we drop this half note, two half notes on, and let's see what happens. I hit apply rhythm. Now notice the second, the two quarter notes in beats 3 and 4 are combined into one half note, but on beats 1 and 2, the rhythm phrase didn't turn. You might have expected that the rhythm phrase would turn the first quarter note into a half note, but it didn't. And again, that follows the principle that when you're using the apply rhythm function, it's not going to create a note where no note exists. So since there was no note on the second beat, it didn't create a half note on beats 1 and 2. So that's how that operates. Okay. Now let's take a look at 16th note triplets. Now before we drag it on there, let's see if we can figure out what it's going to do. We can predict what it'll do. So 16th note triplets would mean on every eighth beat you'd have three 16th note triplets. I think that's correct. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. Okay. So what we should end up with, if our principle holds true, is we should have 6 triplets on the first, replacing the first quarter note, 6 16th note triplets replacing the first quarter note, the second quarter note, the third quarter note, and the last quarter note. So let's try that. 16th note triplets. We'll drop it on there, and it applied. Let's try that again. I hit apply rhythm. Yep, and that's what we get. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So for every quarter note, we get 6 16th note triplets. So, and on the second note, on the second beat, I should say, we get a blank because there was nothing there. Now, you notice that when I go back, when I dragged this on the first time, it seemed to replace everything. That's just because I dragged it the wrong way. Like if I drag it, let's see, I'm trying to replicate what I did. If you don't drop it on there, if you drop it on there the wrong way, it's not going to work. It won't apply the rhythm. It'll just replace the phrase. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay. So when you drag the phrase over, just make sure you get there, and you'll see kind of when it's lined up. You'll see you'll see when it's correctly lined up, and then just drop it, and then the apply rhythm dialog box will pop up automatically. Okay. Now here's a little trick. Let's do eighth note triplets. Let's drag those on there. Okay. See, that time I dropped it on the wrong way, and you can actually see here that what we have is two phrases. So I didn't quite drop it on there properly. Let me try that again. You have to get it right over the phrase. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to hit apply rhythm again. Okay, and now we have what we would expect. We have, for each quarter note, we have 3 eighth note triplets. Now, here's a curious thing that made me scratch my head at first. If I double click this, if you double click on a phrase, it takes you to the phrase editor, correct? So if I double click on this and I go to the phrase editor, I don't see the triplets. All I see are the 3 quarter notes. So I'm wondering, at first when I saw this, I wondered, well, what's going on? I mean, here's the phrase. It's got the eighth note triplets, and they don't appear in the phrase editor. And then I figured out what's going on. If you right click on the phrase, you'll see that what this phrase mapper is doing is it's actually automatically applying one of the variations. It's applying the apply rhythm variation. And so when you have variations on a phrase and you go back to the phrase editor, you're not going to see the variations. The phrase editor will only show you the phrase without any variations applied to it. So you might say, well, I mean, what if that's not very good, because, I make a change to a phrase and then I want to go in the phrase editor and tweak it. Okay. And a good example would be of doing this kind of thing would be the 16th note triplets on this phrase. I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to hit apply rhythm. Okay. Now suppose what we want to do musically is we've got 3 quarter notes. Okay. That's kind of boring rhythmically, but and melodically too, for that matter. But what we want to do is we want to go in and we want to create some, like, let's say some embellishments, like some neighbor tones. Okay, so we're going to take the second 16th note triplet and we're going to move it up, and the fourth one we're going to move it down. I'll show you what I mean. All right, if we want to do that and we double click this phrase, we can't do it because, hey, the 16th note triplets aren't in the phrase editor. So what do? Simple. Right click on your phrase, go to your gear icon, and just what you want to do is render phrase with variations in voicing. Okay? And then you'll notice this phrase now says rendered. So now we've got a rendered phrase. When we double click and go to the phrase editor, we can edit it. So now I can, oops, let me undo that. One little trick, when you're working with triplets and you go to the phrase editor, when you want to move these things around, you got to be careful. You got to set your snapping grid, okay? Because if you don't do that, you're not going to be able to place these notes accurately. So now that I've reset my snapping grid, now I can move these and create my little embellishments here. I'll show you what I mean quickly. Okay, so all I've really done here is create some neighbor tones. All right, so let's hear that. So that, all right, let's apply that to the, and slow it down a little bit. It'll sound a little bit better. Okay, so that's just a really simple idea where you've got 3/4 notes and you want to create some embellishments, and using this method you can quickly change the 3/4 notes into 16th note triplets, render the phrase, go to your phrase editor, and then you can move these notes around anywhere you want, and create something interesting out of something that was kind of boring. Okay? All right. I'll see you in the next video.